great. All right, let's talk Big Ten. The one thing you got right, or one thing you got wrong. Let's start with what you got right. We'll start with JR first, man. One thing about the Big Ten, you predicted it 3 weeks in, you nailed that prediction so far.
I I mean, it's easy for me. I have two. All right. And one, Indiana. I said they were going 500 at very least, and I put Curtis Rourke as a top 5 quarterback in the Big Ten. You guys laughed at me. You guys didn't believe me. Guess what? If he's not top 5, he's top 6. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten so far this year. I know the competition hasn't been great, but Eric, you and I were talking about it on Twitter last night, man. Indiana has a path to go 9-3, 10-2. I'm not predicting it to happen, but there's a path. I mean, they could beat Michigan. They could beat Maryland, Northwestern. Like, they have a bunch of teams on that schedule they could beat. Really, their only for sure loss right now is Ohio State, and then Nebraska is very, very likely. I wouldn't say it's for sure, but it's a very likely loss for them. And then the rest of that schedule, I mean, I already wasted
Man, look at that.
Yeah, he really does not want us to talk about that game. Okay. Well,
That's
so
hilarious.
far we're back. We're back to not talking about how it went for Purdue yesterday.
That's hilarious. And then the other one, this one has not been proven correct yet, but it is far more likely than it was at the beginning of the season. I predicted that Michigan State would beat Michigan, and let me tell you, I'm talking about those guys from the Voice of College Football over there at Michigan. They have already been talking about if Michigan State beats them, they are going to essentially just cry forever.
You mean they're not going to eat dog poop like
No,
that?
they won't do that.
Okay.
Florida
That
State,
does
man.
need to happen, though, for Florida State to win. That does need to happen. They're cursed until that happens.
That'd be great if that was the curse. Oh, just be wonderful. College football would be the best thing ever again.
But I feel much more confident on Michigan State beating Michigan than I did earlier, even though I predicted it. And I got to say, I feel pretty good about it.
I might come back and talk about Indiana in a second, but Chris, you're up next here, man. Something you got right in the Big Ten.
They are what I thought they were, Eric. This Michigan team is at best a 4-loss team. At best. They are horrid. They are solid on defense, but they have no depth. And offensively, they are just putrid. I have never seen anything stink as bad as what this Michigan offense does. They have quarterback issues. They've got offensive line issues. And their poster boy, come on, the running back that was put on the face of NCAA 25, their man, it took him 3 games to bust 100 yards and get a touchdown. They suck. There's no other way to put it. They suck. They are what I thought they were. Michigan is awful.
Donald and Karen Rosbach, $20. They want to hear me go off on Perdon't. It's gonna happen now. Someone better, DK, you better step up big time, or it's gonna happen.
They're ganging up on Dylan, though. It's not really fair. He's got one wallet.
Hey,
rest of
the
chat
money's
has
green.
Like 40.
It all pays the same, brother.
Yeah.
It all pays the same. All right, Florida Cory, something you got right about the Big Ten.
I feel pretty vindicated right now. The Big Ten was going to be Ohio State, Oregon, and that's kind of it. I'm not big on Penn State right now. I think they're average. I think they're overhyped to what people say they are. I think Bowling Green. I don't want to say proved it, but my goodness, it's like, gee, you guys almost lost at home to Bowling Green. I know Oregon's look bad at times. I think they're starting to figure it out because people keep asking who's the second best Big Ten team. I mean, we all were saying Oregon was going to be a top tier team beginning of the season. I think at the sudden we started questioning that. I think they showed Oregon State like, okay, they're starting to figure it out, as we figured they would. They're a good team, very too talented to remain mediocre / almost lose to Idaho. So I think that was more of an anomaly than anything. I think Ohio State, Oregon, you'll see them in the Big Ten title game. I said it before the season. I think we're on our way there.
Yeah, I made the prediction on the Big Ten Football Talk podcast with Zach Guggenheim that this week Oregon, the real Oregon, was going to stand up
Yeah.
and show out, and they did.
Yeah.
That was the Oregon I expected to see,
Mm-hmm.
and that got ugly quick. However, on the flip side of that, going out west, how about Washington? They're back to putting the R in there because they're Washington.
Yeah.
They lost the Apple Cup to Washington State. That's so embarrassing.
The
So
former
embarrassing.
Pac-12 lost to the current Pac-12 or whatever Washington State is at the moment. So I mean, it's like, what is Washington State? Are they in a conference? Are they independent now? How does that work?
Pac-2. They're in the Pac-2.
They're the Pac-2. Oh, that's
Yeah.
just embarrassing. Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
embarrassing.
Which is now the Pac-6 because that was news that came out this week.
Yeah.
That Boise State and we've got Fresno State and you've got who's the other two? San Diego State
Oh, jeez.
and Colorado State. Those four are joining the Pac-12 in 2026.
This is.
Hey, let me ask you guys a question because we talked about it on the Big Ten huddle. If there was a team that would leave the Big Ten for the Pac-12, like they say they just got kicked out, one of the two, either they left because they're mad or they got kicked out and got relegated to the Pac-12, who would it be?
Michigan.
That's who I thought would leave. I don't know if they'd get relegated, but that's who I thought would pout and leave.
Maybe Washington again. I don't know.
No.
That's good. Guess.
I'm just kidding with that one, obviously, but it's just like this is where they lost. But that's a good question. Wow, I've been advocating for Lou dropping teams for years now. I'd like to drop like Northwestern and get rid of Jim. So I'm not. I don't know. I don't know if they go to the Pac-12 or not. Though.
I don't think any of them will. UCLA is probably the most. I would say the most relevant because the UCLA does not feel like they fit in the Big Ten right now. When Indiana goes out there and Indiana looks good and just lays a whooping on you, my gosh, like that's okay. Like I know Indiana's better. We'll see. We'll see how good they really are. But man, UCLA, that's. Whew.
Well, it makes sense for them to go back because I don't know if you knew this, Eric, but they're in Los Angeles.
Oh, are they?
They are.
Oh, okay. Does Sean Foster tell you that?
That's where I heard it. Yeah.
Yeah. With USC. Yeah, they're there with them. Yeah.
No, they're not with USC. Trust me, they're nowhere near USC.
Not this year.
Just geographically speaking, that's it.
Yeah.
UCLA is much like Purdue. They've already turned the page on football season. Looking forward to basketball. Big Ten. What I got right about the Big Ten. Iowa is who we thought they were. They stink offensively. As long as Kirk Ferentz is the head coach of the Hawkeyes, they are going to be terrible offensively. Their best game so far is when Kirk Ferentz was taking punishment for illegally recruiting a player from the team up north and Cade McNamara. Iowa fans, grow a set, start to make some noise, push this guy out. You are mid with a capital M. You always will be. And the fact that there's no longer a Big Ten West proves just how mid you are moving forward, guys. I can't stand Iowa. I really can't.
How dare you? That's where Field of Dreams was.
Again, way overrated. Great movie, but the actual Field of Dreams overrated. The Field of Dreams baseball thing is overrated too. I won't go down that rant. My goodness.
That's
okay.
Amen to that. Great movie, but that's where it ends. Yeah.
So that's what I got right. One thing about the Big Ten you got wrong, Florida. Cory, we'll start with you.
I didn't make too many predictions about the Big Ten, but I had thoughts. I will say, I will give JR full credit on this one because I was wrong. He was right. I thought Michigan State was going to stink. I thought they were going to be terrible. I actually thought they barely beat their whatever opponent in the first week. And then I thought, oh, Maryland's going to smoke them. And here I keep looking at the score like, man, they're beating Maryland. They just beat Maryland. I thought Maryland was going to put up 40 on them easy. I just thought, not that I think John Smith's a bad coach. I just thought there was going to be some, time to like rebuild and, everything because that program was left a mess. But hey, kudos to Michigan State. Good for their fans. I don't hate Michigan State like I do Michigan, obviously. So kudos. I got some friends that are fans of theirs. Good for you guys. I'm glad to see you get some wins.
Me next. Okay. So I don't know. I didn't bang this drum super loud, but I talked about it a little bit when we did our predictions. I thought Wisconsin would be better than they are. And boy, you want to talk about Purdue and Notre Dame? Talk about Wisconsin and Alabama. There is a great example of the athleticism in the SEC versus a like naturally Big Ten raised like Big Ten recruiting team, because the best athlete on that team was Tackett Curtis, and even he looked incredibly slow and incredibly stiff compared to all the twitched up guys that were on Alabama. I mean, even that 17-year-old wide receiver who was really good. I mean, he had a field day against those corners for Wisconsin. Ricardo Holman is a good corner, I think, but even he looked like he was no match for
Wait
what
a
Alabama
second.
has. So I was gonna say, just Wisconsin. I thought they'd be 7 or 8 wins. I don't even know if they're gonna make a bowl game.
Chris.
Yeah, JR is not wrong, but I'll tell you, for me, and Cory said Michigan State. I still can't buy into Michigan State. Can't do it. But I am going to give JR his due. Uh, Looks like the Group of Five All-Star Team experiment is starting off the right way. Indiana's off and running. They really are. Granted, the talent has the opponents haven't been the greatest, but who are we to sit there and criticize that playing two MAC teams? So I mean, you got to give them credit for what they've achieved so far, and they are out there dominating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got to give Indiana their props. They're better than I
Well,
thought they'd be.
and I was gonna say, like just a year ago, Indiana was that team that when you beat them, it was like, well, it's not a very good opponent, right? I mean, and they just did that to UCLA. Where now people are saying about Indiana, like, wow, well, UCLA isn't all that good of an opponent. It's like, do you know where Indiana came from? Do you know how bad they were? Like,
Right.
That's a quick turnaround. Yeah.
yeah.
So, my the analogy I give to Indiana right now is, and I think it's a good analogy, and it helps everybody understand this. At least it helps me understand this. Is Indiana was a jobber. If anybody ever watched professional wrestling, Indiana was the
Jobber.
jobber,
They were
right?
the Brooklyn Brawler
Yeah,
of.
they're the job
It was a
squad,
squash
right?
match.
Yeah, they were the jobber, and then they got this great heel manager to come in and give them a push. That's Signetti. Y'all remember what he said when he was introduced? He
Oh,
said,
he came trash
"Purdue
talking. Yeah.
sucks, Michigan sucks, Ohio State sucks." He was 2 for 3. He was correct. He was
Yeah.
actually right 2 out of 3 of those. Uh, but all of a sudden now Indiana's getting a push as a heel.
Yeah.
And he came in and said, "Dude, we're just gonna own it. If we're not gonna be any good as nice guys, so let's just piss everybody off. Go be bad guys. Let's go be the heel." And so far, it's working for them. So mad props to him. But what I got wrong, what I got absolutely wrong, USC is much better, especially defensively, than what I thought they were going to be. I thought it was going to take them at least a season or two to get up to par defensively with how good they are offensively. And I didn't think Miller Moss was going to be nearly this good. That guy can play. He can sling it. USC is a real threat. And I know, Cory, you said you still think it's going to be Ohio State, Oregon. Maybe USC's got something to say about that. That
Maybe.
could be a big game. Now, we're going to know a lot more about USC because if they go in the big house and they do to the team up north what Texas did to them, then it's like, okay, that's an apples to apples comparison with the number 2 team in the country in Texas. Although I think they're more of like number 3 or 14th best team in the country than what their number 2 ranking is, and then USC here too. So there's that. All right, so that's the Big Ten. Before we jump over to our national, let me real fast get into my Purdue Notre Dame rant because it looks like Notre Dame wins out.